Chinese billionaire Jack Ma, the richest man in China, has resurfaced after being out of the public eye for months. But real troubles of his and his business empire may be just starting. Jack Ma used to give rockstar performances for his employees at Alibaba, Asia's biggest online commerce company. He once dressed as Michael Jackson, but those halcyon days are gone. Over the last year, China's richest man has had his wings clipped by the Chinese Communist Party. Hello everyone, welcome to World of China, a channel to explore China. In today's video, we're talking about the fall of Jack Ma and the shocking reason behind this. So stay tuned and give this video a big thumbs up. Corporate China's brightest star was just days away from seeing his Ant Group listed on the stock market in a record $37 billion deal when he chose to launch a blistering public attack on the country's financial watchdogs and banks. Stung by the attack, Chinese regulators and Communist Party officials set about reining in Ma's sprawling financial empire, climaxing in the suspension of the IPO on Tuesday, 2 days before the eagerly awaited market debut in Shanghai and Hong Kong. While Ma might not have realized the impact his words would have, people close to him had been baffled to learn in advance about the tone of the speech he planned to deliver, according to the two sources close to Ma. Ant Group, China's biggest fintech conglomerate, was preparing last November for its initial public offering. Analysts projected it would raise $34 billion, the largest sale of shares in history. The company, founded by Jack Ma, had become synonymous with financial innovations, which are often risky. And then it all fell apart. 2 days before Ant's shares were to launch trading on the Hong Kong and Shanghai exchanges, the government blocked the IPO regulators. Officials mentioned the company's shady accounting practices, which could be hiding huge amounts of risky loans. Given Ant's sheer size, any problems could roil financial markets and damage investors. This week it occurred that Alibaba has almost halved in value, losing a record $373 billion over just the last 12 months. But the government isn't done. This month, regulators forced Ant to produce a rectification plan to restructure the company by dividing its different entities, which include insurance and wealth management services. It had to commit to increasing transparency in improving its accounting and consumer protection practices, in addition to limiting its expansion into new lines of business. It appeared that in bringing the hammer down on the company, the government aimed to limit its growing economic and political power. Ma's downfall can be traced back to the misjudged speech he made in Shanghai this time last year. The game in the future is about innovation, not just regulatory skills. In a reckless speech, he criticized regulators as too cautious and pilloried state-owned banks for their pawnshop mentality of providing loans only to borrowers who could pose collateral. He said we cannot regulate the future with yesterday's means, clearly aiming at China's regulators who are targeting the country's new financial technology giants, including Ma's own Ant Group. Big blunder. Beijing hit back hard. A week after the speech, regulators changed the rules so that Ant Group's IPO was pulled overnight. At an estimated $37 billion, it had been plugged as the biggest IPO ever. Instantly, $3 billion of Ma's wealth was wiped out. It was a costly reminder that there's an important difference between Ma and the likes of Jeff Bezos. A Chinese entrepreneur's success comes by the grace of the CCP. In Xi Jinping's China, the party, not businessmen, decides what yesterday's means. Xi aims to end the debt-fueled hyperstate capitalism of the 90s and noughties. But it wasn't just about Ma said. Beijing is not quite that narrow. She's trying to shift China into a new economic era. Whereas Deng Xiaoping called for some people to get rich first when he launched China's economic liberalization, Xi wants China's new wealth to be distributed more broadly. In 2020, the government emerged a dual circulation strategy to become more economically self-sufficient. It involved promoting homegrown innovation in industries like telecommunications and green energy and relying more on domestic sales rather than exports. In part, the strategy is a response to persistent economic tensions with the United States, but it comes alongside an important pivot in government attitudes. The private sector is important for economic development, but must follow official priorities and show solid loyalty to the government. Xi intends to end the debt-fueled hyperstate capitalism of the 90s and noughties, which is an era well documented in businessman Desmond Shum's new memoir. Property companies can no longer borrow ad infinitum, as China's second-largest developer, Evergrande, is finding out the latest troubles had been triggered by new Chinese regulation. Didi Xuxing, a ride-sharing app, is just one of many tech companies facing stricter regulations on data privacy. A ban on foreign-run education firms has shaken wider market confidence, causing a sharp sell-off in New York-listed Chinese companies. Last month, Alibaba instead committed $15.5 billion to the government's efforts in the Great Redistribution. Nobody quite knows where this money will go, causing some concern among investors. But Daniel Zhang, the current CEO of Alibaba, intimated it could help smaller businesses expand abroad. All this comes under Xi's banner of common prosperity, a model by which the Chinese middle class is meant to expand, leaving little room for billionaires, especially those who don't toe the line. But it's just not about redistribution. There's also increasingly a special place for the party in private companies and civil society. In recent years, large firms have been mandated to run party committees that consist of senior executives and CCP members. Today, there are anxieties that the communists will soon push for board representation at 10 companies after a government fund took a 1% stake in ByteDance, the company behind TikTok, in a board seat. Competitors like Tencent have been put on notice. Be transparent, comply with regulations, protect consumer data, or else China's government knows well how extensive data gathering confers power. While the government tolerates private enterprise and encourages innovation, entrepreneurs should think twice before voicing overt defiance at the government. Jack Ma is treading water. Since that unfortunate speech, he has cancelled media appearances and become a top philanthropist, giving away $500 million of his wealth to charitable causes. A party member, Ma, has understood this change in direction at the top. He's now rebranding himself as a low-key, reliable mogul, in keeping with the new era. For Alibaba, the company that has transformed the lives of so many Chinese consumers, the loss of their all-singing, all-dancing leader is proving expensive. But the company will not be the last to be brought to heel in Xi's brave new world. Why did regulators not rein in Ant earlier? To put it simply, Ant's success made the government look good. Its position as a global fintech champion protected China's economy. Ant made digital payments and banking products available to a wide segment of the country's population, supporting anti-poverty efforts. The Alipay app has over 700 million monthly users, including residents of remote rural areas. Ant has financed some 29 million small businesses, including street vendors. But at the same time, financial regulators fretted about how Alipay, along with a rival, WeChat Pay, swiftly dominated digital payments, deterring new entrants. Indeed, this has spurred a government project to develop a digital version of China's currency as an option for digital payments. And, they worried, was also harvesting data on its users to judge their creditworthiness and offer them loans on better terms than state-owned banks. Perhaps Mr. Ma thought he need to not look over his shoulder. After all, for many years, China tactically tolerated underground financial institutions subject to fewer regulations and less supervision than traditional commercial banks. These outfits, known as shadow banks, offered higher interest rates to depositors and provide credit to riskier borrowers, including small-scale entrepreneurs the government-backed banks ignored. Eventually, the government clamped down on the sector once it became too risky. Rising loan defaults and bank failures meant depositors could lose their savings. And took advantage of the government's quiet approach to monitoring fintech companies, generating a wide range of financial products and services provided to a growing middle class. Mr. Ma uses influence and political power to shield his company from regulatory oversight, even refusing to share its trove of consumer data with the government. Meanwhile, it could hide any risk from these loans by mix up its revenues and losses across different streams of its conglomerate. Even while it expanded as a fintech company, and could dodge the rigorous regulations banks are subject to. In effect, it could become too big to fail. The Ant episode appeared to signal an end to China's era of innovation in fintech, but more broadly, it appeared to mark the abolition of its experiment in financial market liberalization and the return to government intervention in a hostile environment for investors. Yet, however, heavy-handed Beijing's moves may be, they suggest that it aims to control financial risks, even if the process for doing so looks chaotic. Liberalizing China's financial system is well and good, but the simultaneous desire to exert government control will hardly encourage innovation or efficiency. Even Beijing, despite its remarkable economic record, will find it difficult to have it all. The episode does send a clear signal about the limits of Beijing's tolerance of free enterprise. Firms can innovate and grow big, but will meet swift retribution if they challenge government policies. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching the video. If you like this video, then give this video a big thumbs up and share it. For more exciting videos, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon. I'll be back with another exciting video soon. Till then, check out our channel for more exciting videos and stay tuned.